Hi there and welcome back to Wheels of Interest, and today we are preparing for Casterton Vintage Rally, which is taking place at Great Casterton just north of Stamford in Lincolnshire in the UK. And this year it's a special rally because we are celebrating 100 years of the tractor, and the exhibits are going to range from the Ivel agricultural motor from 1903 built by Dan Allbone right the way up to, I believe, just up to 1970. And they're aiming to have one tractor from every year representing each year of development as the tractor developed through the 20th century. And we are going, and I'm going for the first time as an exhibitor. I went last year as a viewer, as a guest, to see what it was like and what it entailed, and it was a cracking day out. Lots to see and do in terms of watching equipment work, and the emphasis really is on working equipment. There's very little stuff that sits there in a line and does nothing. This is a working rally, make no mistake. We've got all sorts of demonstrations happening, and we are taking two tractors. And the first one is, of course, the Hart Par, which is built in 1930. It was one of the last Hart Pars ever built, which I think you've probably seen if you've seen my other video. Go back and check that about the Hart Par history, for this tractor at least. And so we're taking this and we're going to put some tools behind it, which I'll show you shortly. And then the second tractor is my Oliver 70, which you are yet to have seen on the channel, because it's been in the shed all year since last October when it last went out to Stotfold Mill. And I started it this morning, and a bit of petrol, just run it through the carburetor, and it was away and it worked. Yet again, another reliable piece of equipment. Pretty much every time I need it to run, it will start and it will work. So I've done a little bit of work on that this morning, just sort of topping the oil up, topping the water up, putting some fuel in it, making sure it's nice and clean and ready. And behind that we're going to have some tools as well. And so both tractors are going to be working. The Oliver 70, by the way, is 1941, so it's a wartime tractor. And I like to show the 70 and the Hart Par together because there's little more than 8 years development between the two tractors. And I will do at some point a historical timeline, if you like, from Hart Par to Oliver, to see what the story was behind Oliver and how it came about into the tractor trade. So the Hart Par is on its trailer waiting to go. It's all sheeted up. It's fresh back from Shotterworth, from Old Warden at the weekend, so I haven't taken it off the trailer because it's a bit of a nightmare to load. So the least times I load it and unload it, the better. And it's been sat here a couple of days, and I'm going to be taking it later this afternoon up to Casterton. And we're going to have a look and see what we're going to put behind it. So what we have here is a Howard cultivator, and you can see on the seat it's got Howard cast into the seat, the name of the manufacturer. And basically it's a 6/7 tine cultivator, 6 foot wide, and I bought this back in January time. Found it in a hedgerow at a farm where I was visiting. I offered the farmer some money because it looked like it was a bit unloved, and he accepted a very small sum basically to take it away, even less than scrap price probably. So it didn't have a seat on it. I've now found a seat, and I've even found some period steel to be able to form a seat bracket. But the problem is we can't take this to Casterton because I haven't finished it, so it's got quite a bit of left work to do. I had every intention of repairing the handle because it's broken off at the top. It's all been unseized. I did that when I got it. I was very enthusiastic when I bought it and thought, right, I'm going to get on with this and get it working, and it would be a fantastic exhibit to go behind the Hart Par when I come to working time, which is now. All the wheels, they were all seized. In the bearings there, that was all seized up. All the mechanism, the lift in and lift out mechanism was all seized. And you can see the change in colour in the hubs where I heated everything up to get it all free because it was all seized up. Done all of that. But that's as far as it went. It didn't have a seat, as I say. I managed to find a seat online, complete with the seat bracket. There's plenty of seats, but there are very, very few seats with the right bracket. and somehow I managed to find a seat with a bracket at a place where I was working up in Leicestershire one time, and it literally is in the same town, and I offered the guy the money because I'm never going to find another one, not with a bracket as well. It was quite expensive. In fact, it was nearly twice the price of the whole cultivator. But nonetheless, I offered him that, and we did a deal, and it came home with me. And I've got a lot more work to do. It needs to put a drawbar on it. I've got to build up some of the, if you can see there, some of the wastage on the axle is a bit poor, so it really ought to come out and be built up so that it's got some strength back in it. Because the last thing we want to do is be bowling down the field and the whole thing break in half or bend. So every intention to take this to Casterton and Stotfold Mill, but I'm afraid it's not going to be. Now, Howards were a company based in Bedford, and if you look on the end of the axle there, you can see that the oval plate or the elliptical plate, you can see upside down is the word Howard, which has been stamped into the bearing retainer there. So I know that it is a correct Howard cultivator. They were built in Bedford, not very far from where I am now. And of course, I'm local. It's a local machine because I bought it very close to Old Warden, where we were at the weekend. I bought it from a farm there, and of course, it's named Howard, which is me. So quite appropriate. It's local, built local, used locally, and it's got my name on it. So I've got every intention of getting this back up and running, putting it behind the Hart Par. It's about 6 foot wide, and the Hart Par is about 5 foot wide, so it's perfect for that. And just for a little bit of fun, that's what we're going to use it for, hopefully next year, if I get my finger out. I've had so many things to do, but still, that's the way of the world. So it won't be at Casterton this year, but I have got an alternative solution. And here is the solution. So I'm lucky enough to have a friend which basically collects loads and loads of old iron. His first love is horticultural tractors, rotavators, hoes, Barford Atoms, Merry Tillers, you name it, he'll collect it. But he's also got tons and tons of various implements, ploughs, potato lifters, cultivators, you name it. I don't think he's missed it. He owns the Ford 4000 that we tried to start back in April, and there's a new video of that coming up soon, by the way, so we're hopefully going to get it going. But if you check back, you'll see Paul on screen, and he owns this set of heavy horse harrows. How do I know they're horse harrows? First of all, they've got handles. So what would happen was the horse would be coupled up to the front of the harrows, and the horseman would control the harrows and the horse with these two handles. Now, they didn't come with a tree, in other words the bar at the front, which is called a whipple tree. Basically that's what you hang the harrows on, and then you have a centre point on which to pull the harrows with a chain and such like. So I've managed to borrow a whipple tree from somebody else who had a set of chain harrows, and for what we need this for tootling up and down the ground at Casterton, is this will do exactly the right job and give us a couple of hours fun in the dirt. They are heavy horse harrows. They're seed harrows effectively, but they're a bit bigger than seed harrows, so they will dig a bit deeper because the tines on them are about 4 or 5 inches long, whereas seed harrows are generally about 3 inches long. But they are heavy, and I can vouch for that because I've just been lifting them around, and crikey, they take a bit of doing, and they're also awkward as well. So they'll be just right for the Hart Par, not put it under too much strain because I haven't used the Hart Par yet for anything other than toddling around the rally field and just driving around the field here. I've not actually used it at all, so I'll just be interested to see how it copes with these. And we'll be using it probably on turned soil, so we won't be using it on virgin ground. It'll be something we'll ploughed, and then we'll probably pull the harrows through the plough, or possibly somebody else will cultivate over the plough, and then we'll go behind with the harrows. And the harrows are there basically designed to create a seat bed, so that you get plough. The plough will make turn the soil, and that then needs to be broken down. And how that used to be done was either with a set of discs, or in the old days with a horse it would have been done with a rigid cultivator, much like the one I've just shown you with the wheels on for the tractor. And then after that, these harrows would come along and break the ground down even further so that you could actually get seed in the ground so that it could germinate, and that's what they're for. So we're going to be putting these behind the Hart Par, and I'm looking forward to having a go. Got various chains and pins needed for what we need. Done a little bit of work on the harrows because a couple of the tines were loose and a couple were missing, because we had another single harrow that I borrowed a couple of tines off, which is one very similar to this. It's just one though with a pair of handles on it. You can just see it on the left hand side of the screen, just leaning up. It's just leaning up against my bench. That's another heavy harrow, but it's just one harrow with a pair of handles, so that would be one harrow, one horse. This would probably be 2 horses on this, maybe, not really sure. I'm not really into horses, so I don't quite know how they use these with horses, whether it was 2 or 1 single horse, but they are definitely horse harrows, and they are of the period of where we need to be, pre-1930. You can just imagine that the old farmhands of the period, the horsemen, used to using horses all day long, and the farmer would come along and he would say, I'm going to do away with the horses and I'm going to be giving you a tractor. And you can just imagine the horrified looks on the faces of the horsemen, using a smelly, dirty, noisy tractor instead of their beautiful, lovely horses. But we haven't got any equipment, they would say. We're going to use the old equipment, he said, until I can afford to buy new. So put your harrows behind the new tractor, sir. And that's what they had to do. And that was progress. Now, the Oliver 70. This tractor was designed in 1935 by Oliver, Hart Par, and it was a streamlined bodywork tractor of the period. So in America, if you think of the cars of the period, automobiles, you would have had very stylish bodywork on them. Think of the Cadillacs and the Corvettes and all the Duesenbergs, all of those cars that they had in the States. The Oliver Hart Par company decided that they were going to make tractors just as attractive. So they designed the Oliver 70. They updated it in 1938 and they changed the styling a little bit to be a little bit more streamlined and curvy. And they ended up with what you see in front of you. The Oliver 70 is about 30 horsepower. But the best thing about it is it's got a straight 6 engine in it. 2, 4, 6 spark plugs. And when it's running, it runs like a sewing machine. It is an absolutely lovely little engine. It's a Chrysler engine, I think, built by Waukesha in America. It's a derivative of the Chrysler truck engine. Straight petrol from America, but this one is a kerosene version because it came over to UK. It was a UK imported tractor in 1941. It came in under the Lend-Lease Act between the US and British governments for the war effort. And this one spent its working life in Lancashire. It's got a it's got a dealer's plate on it from Ormskirk in Lancashire. I'll just show you there. J.J. Barmforth, agent, 4 Orton Street, Ormskirk. That was on the tractor when I bought it, but the tractor was derelict when I got it, and I restored it about 20 years ago. It took me quite a few years to get to the point of getting it restored. I bought it in 1983 when I was almost 17, and it was in the right state. I had various parts made for it, found a few parts from America, found a few parts from the UK, and I got it running. Rebuilt the engine, put 5 and 6 speeds in the gearbox because it was a slow one. It only had 4 speeds in it. Got some gears from America, made it onto a fast road speed, and I used to drive it to rallies back, what, 10, 15, 20 years ago. It could do with a repaint. It probably could do with a little bit of a love and attention, because you can probably see in the sunshine that the panels are all different colours now, because different times they were painted different times, and so the paints are fading at different rates. It's an absolutely beautiful machine, and it is on the list of things that I will never sell. If you've seen my Land Rover video that I did the other day, that is top of the list, and this is a very, very close second. This is a tractor that is dear to my heart, that I will never ever sell. And I know they say never, but I'm going to stick to that one because I absolutely adore this tractor. I have done ever since I set eyes on it. Beautiful, beautiful machine. What are we going to pull behind it? Well, we're going to pull what I've always pulled behind it, and that is a fantastic condition Cockshut 2-furrow plough. Now, Cockshut was an American stroke Canadian company that incidentally produced tractors using Oliver tractors, but painted them red and put Cockshut on them. In England, however, Cockshut was in collaboration with Lister of the stationary engine fame, or the engine fame. And this is a Lister Cockshut 2-furrow plough, and I've had this plough probably as long as I've had the tractor's been finished, so year 2000, something like that, when the tractor first went out on the rally circuit, and I had this plough not long after then. I bought it at a farm sale, and it's one of those, I just seem to have luck of the devil really. It's one of those where I've done very, very little to it. I plunked it in the ground first time I used it, did a bit of adjustment, and it ploughed absolutely beautifully, and I've never done anything to it since except keep it nice and greasy and covered it up in the winter time. And you can see last year's grease when I put it on the mould boards after we finished using the plough at Stotfold. And at Casterton it's stony, so I'm hoping that my mould boards are going to get really shiny. They're nice and shiny under those under that grease. I'm not going to rub it off because I'm going to get a dirty finger, but also I want to keep it in case it rains. I don't want it to go rusty. I always oil it and grease it. Whenever I put it away, I chuck old engine oil over it. That's why it's the colour it is, and I'll never paint it. And it is a perfect machine for this tractor. It goes behind my Fordson as well. It's a lovely little plough. It's not a match plough. It's not perfect by any means, but it does a nice job of ploughing with very little effort. And that's what I like. So that's what we're taking to Casterton. I've got to get my tent sorted out. I've got to get various bits of camping gear, although we're not staying there, but I need my stove to make bacon rolls and tea. And I need to get some cutlery and some plates and various bits and pieces, chairs and such like to sit on. I've got a friend of mine coming to drive with me, and we've got 2 bits of kit. So both bits of kit are going to be working. It's a prerequisite that if you want to go to Casterton, you have to work it. You can't just sit there looking pretty on the side of the grass field. You've got to put it to work. Even if it's only for 10 minutes, it's got to do something. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be a good weekend. The weather looks like it's going to hold. It might be a bit thundery, possibly a little showery, but I think it's going to be warm, so that's going to be good as well because it's a bit windswept. And if you want to come, I think look it up on Facebook. You'll see Casterton Vintage Working Rally on Facebook. If you search Casterton Vintage Rally, you will find the links to this year's rally as to where it is, just north of Stamford at Great Casterton, right by the A1. Very, very easy to get to. The transport links are superb. And yeah, come along, see some really old, interesting tractors. Tractor from every year, right up to 1970. And be good to see you. So, if you like what we do, put a subscription down, doesn't cost you anything, helps us on the channel. If you like the video, hit the like button, that always helps us as well. If you want to make any comments, please feel free, and hopefully we'll see you there. And if all else fails, just share the video to your friends, get it out there so people can see what we're up to in the world of wheels of interest and everything with wheels and mechanics. Take care. Hopefully see you at Casterton. Bye for now.